Hello and welcome to our next lesson on using H5P tools to create interactive lessons for your students. Today's lesson is going to focus on using the drag and drop feature to create things such as review worksheets, things that needs to be labeled, any content like that. So we will go ahead and click on Create New Content. And you can go ahead and search for whatever type of content it is that you're looking for. We are going to be using the drag and drop tool today, so I'll go ahead and click on that. So the first thing we're going to do is give our lesson a title. We will call this Respiratory System, and we will add our image that we would like to be labeled. Depending on your needs, you can change a few of these settings for feedback or how many times a student can try, depending on your own particular needs for your own particular students. Next thing that we're going to do is click on Task. This is where we will actually add the labels for the students to drag and drop for this activity. The thing we're going to want to do is add our drop zones. So I will click on this icon here. First part that we want to label is the nose. Okay, so you can play around with the background opacity as much as you'd like. We'll leave this on 100%. This option makes sure that only one item can be dragged to one particular drop zone. So we'll click on this. And auto align just lines things up nicely. So we'll click on those two options and then click on Done. So now I take my newly created drop zone and I drag it to where I would like it to be placed. Just like that. So now I can repeat this process for my next 4 drop zones. Next up is the mouth. And you can resize these depending on your needs. Next up we have the trachea. The lungs, and finally the diaphragm. And so now that I have my drop zones created, the next item to do is to create the text that the students will drag to match the appropriate drop zone. So to do this, I click on the text button. And so now it's just a matter of creating text that match each of the drop zones. So my first one, of course, is nose. That will go to the drop zone labeled nose. I can click Done. And so now this is what the students will see that they can drag and drop to the appropriate zone. So I can do this for my my remaining 4 items. I have mouth, matched up to mouth. Trachea, matches up with trachea. Lungs with lungs. And diaphragm with diaphragm. So now that I have my text created, the last thing I have to do is go back to my drop zones and edit them to accept this text. The way that you edit your drop zones to accept the appropriate text, you just click on them, click on this little pencil icon that says Edit, and so now you will see that your label is able to be matched to a correct element. Okay, so in this case, the nose gets matched with the nose. I click Done, and I can do this for all of my elements. Now, it might not be the best idea to leave all of the text in the exact order that they occur. So what you can do is perhaps put them in a different order so you can mix and match, you can move them around, you can play around with it as much as you'd like, you can resize the elements. It's really customizable, which is one of the great features of H5P. So now that your activity is complete, you can scroll down to the bottom of the page and click Save. So now you're able to view exactly what it is the students will see when they get this activity. So they're asked to drag and drop. So they can start labeling things, nose, mouth. If they do happen to get one wrong, let's say they think this is the diaphragm, it just goes back to the right-hand side of the screen and allows them to try again until they get the order correct. They can then scroll down, check their work, and of course they have a 5 out of 5. Finally, if you would like to embed this into our learning management system Brightspace, all you have to do is click on this, which will generate an embed code. You can scroll back up, copy the embed code, and then paste it right into a Brightspace file. So that's it, a brief tutorial on how to use the drag and drop feature of the H5P tools. Like I mentioned several times, it's very customizable, so you can play around with it, find out what works for you, and hopefully you'll be able to create some more interactive lessons for your students.